from the crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 68 of Dads from the Crypt, the Tales from the Crypt podcast. My name is Jason. Tonight I'm joined by Mondo.
Oh, hello.
Hello. And Jody is without power. Maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. So it'll be a surprise. But tonight we are joined by a very special guest. He is a writer, he's a director, he's a Sega Genesis collector, among other things. His name is Ed Payson.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to the show, Ed. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. You've got a plethora of projects and things going on, so we're just going to dive right into it. Tell us about yourself and what you've been working on.
Yeah, so I started in LA making movies in around 2007. Started off with straight horror stuff, some slasher films, found footage, serial killer film. And then kind of went right into documentaries from there. So it's kind of like I'm 50-50 documentaries and horror, and sometimes they're horror documentaries, and sometimes they're the other way where they're, horror mockumentaries. But yeah, right now I just came out with a retro video game movie called Rarity, Retro Video Game Collecting in the Modern Era, about a bunch of collectors of rare retro video games, everything from like your average collector to people with like $30 million video game collections, to people with like one-of-a-kind items and that kind of thing. And my new documentary is called In Search of All-American Massacre, the Lost Texas Chainsaw Film. And it's just that. It's about a Lost Texas Chainsaw Massacre film that nobody really knows about, that was created by Tony Hooper, who's Tobe Hooper's son. Toby worked on it as well, but kind of got lost the time. It was supposed to come out in 2000 and then didn't, and no one knows why, because everybody kind of just fell off the face of the earth and then swore not to talk about it after 2000. So we kind of knocked on doors and kind of went as far as we could with figuring out what was going on with it, and kind of telling people about it who don't know about it, because I don't know about you guys, but like I know so many Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans, people with tattoos all over them and everything, and they've never heard of the film, even though Bill Moseley reprises his role as Chop Top in the film.
Right. Is this the one that's like kind of a prequel, or where he's like in jail?
Yeah, it's like a prequel sequel. So he's it supposedly takes place after Texas Chainsaw 2. Somehow he survives and he goes to prison, and then after several years in prison, I think 15 years in prison, he gets interviewed by a tabloid news crew and kind of takes them through all of his past massacres, even before the first Chainsaw movie. Right. Yeah, at Nam and everything. So
yeah, it's one of those things I've heard. I remember hearing about every once in a while. Something will pop up, or might be like a short clip might show up on YouTube or something. But yeah, it's definitely one of those lost to time things that, it's great to hear, at least that you're telling the story of, even if you can't get the actual movie.
Yeah, and some crazy stuff has happened in just the last few years. Like I said, this was supposed to come out in 2000, but in 2020, for instance, a clip just randomly showed up of Buckethead as Leatherface. I should mention Buckethead, the guitarist, plays Leatherface in the film, wears a fat suit and everything. And a clip showed up out of nowhere on Twitter from someone else with no other posts except for this one post, and then they deleted it after. And a few lucky people were able to, get it. Some people took it down and put it on YouTube. And that comes from something even crazier that happened, where in 2016, one of the producers of the film had abandoned a storage locker, and it was, I guess, abandoned for several years. And his name was Eric Lasher. And he essentially had all the work that he had ever done. He's primarily a set photographer, and he worked on like all the Candymans. He worked on both Guyver films, Texas Chainsaw 2, the first one, tons and tons of movies. And he had all the negatives in there. And then when he abandoned the storage locker, not only were the set negatives in there, but he also was the cinematographer for All American Massacre. So
Wow.
there's actually like archive listings of the high 8 tapes and stuff that they shot on being sold on eBay to somebody back in 2017. So yeah, so that's that. We go through that too. We contact the people who, you know, got a hold of these set photography things. He still had some, and we can talk about that too if you want. I don't know if you want to just dive right into it.
No, I think we got a good idea about it. So is the documentary still in progress? Is it finished?
It's finished. It's actually premiering in Hollywood this Friday, actually.
Oh,
Wow.
Or actually at the Howard Hughes Center in Culver City. And then we actually, it's going to be like within the next week, it's going to be on Amazon Prime and a few other networks. Plex
Oh, wow.
That, so
that's awesome. Congratulations.
I
Thank
never
you.
thought I'd ever hear anybody say Buckethead plain Leatherface.
Yeah.
And the follow-up statement is even crazier, and it was crazier.
I was imagining Leatherface with a bucket of chicken. That's all I can think of right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of Buckethead, but Buckethead is like a lover of horror. And if you ever want to hear a really cool, something he does that's really cool, if you go on YouTube, look up his cover of the Cannibal Holocaust thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kills it. It's like so haunting how well he does that. Just not on topic, but it's worth checking out. But I'm into this documentary now. I've never heard of this, and I'm so excited right now to check this out.
Thanks,
Cool.
man. Yeah, as we were making it, we were just like learning things. One of the things, like, there's not much information about it, like I said, but one of the things we actually learned is just like we didn't know that Toby had anything to do with it, and he actually had a part in like he kind of stepped aside but took like menial roles in the project. He helped getting them right. And some people like that we had talked to in the past said, "Oh no, Toby wasn't on set," and then we actually got exclusive photos from the set that are only in the documentary of him not only on set but like handling Buckethead's mask and everything. And the person who gave me the footage actually blurred out Bucketface's face because he, you know, his whole thing is not showing his face. They blurred that out, but there's Toby just handling the Leatherface mask on set and then taking pictures with all the different people on set. So it's kind of cool because when you think about it, this is actually Tobe Hooper's last Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, and nobody knows about it.
No, that's insane. I Texas Chainsaw Massacre being possibly my favorite horror film of all time. I've never heard of any of this, and I'm super intrigued. This is going to keep me up tonight. So,
yeah, and then tell us what else you found in that abandoned storage unit.
Yeah, so kind of bringing it all full circle. You know, the Tales from the Crypt podcast. So we actually contacted the guy who originally sold that stuff, and he apparently had over 200 rolls that were unsorted that he hadn't gone through yet, and he was selling them on eBay like while, you know, we were talking to him. So we were like, okay, we'll, you know, pool some money together because he wanted quite a bit of money. I think it was like $500 for every 20 rolls. So we bought 20 rolls and just started like, you know, frantically going through the rolls. And we got like 3 or 4 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, you know, behind the scenes set photography that some of them weren't ever published. And one of the coolest ones we got was from the episode Yellow, the Robert Zemeckis one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then all the rest were from season 3. So that was really cool. We got some set footage from Window Liquor, the Aphex Twin music video.
Nice.
He did all the set stuff for that. We got all the behind the scenes stuff for that. And then we also got one for the Guyver 2.
interesting.
So, yeah. And we have a bunch that we couldn't really identify. So we still have to like go through the processing and stuff. But one of the ones I didn't mention, we got like top billing. So you see the Crypt Keeper as like in the Dracula costume and stuff. So yeah, really, really cool stuff.
So, I guess you and I were talking about this. So you're having trouble finding an economical way to develop it. So, what kind of film is it on, or what's the format?
I mean, it's like old stock 35. So this is like kind of what it looks like. And there's like 20 of these, and we were just quoted at these different places. There was one place where it was like someone at AFI that I know said that he could do it, but he would probably have to like rent the lab out for like 3 or 4 days to do it because it's such a slow process.
Wow.
And then like, the cheapest we got was 35 per roll at a few like post houses that we had asked. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, we might just do it slowly and like do piece by piece, maybe just do the Tales from the Crypt stuff and then go and try to do the other stuff that we can't really identify later.
Wow.
Well, if any of our listeners know of a way to get that done in a, like I said, economical way, please let us know because we'd love to see all those pictures in their full glory.
I mean, Jason, you love yellow.
I know it's killing me not to see those.
And I'm pretty sure you're rich, so just bankroll this is fine.
No, I'm definitely not.
I was just guessing.
All right,
but you look like a guy that might be rich. I'm just saying, like you have that look to you.
I don't know what that look is.
White male. I don't know.
White male. There you go. All right, then Edward, tell us about your association with Tales from the Crypt. Do you have any favorite episodes? Do you remember when you first started watching it?
Yeah, I started watching it way too young, and I know I was way too young because my parents would have babysitters come over, and they weren't allowed to watch Tales from the Crypt, but we were. So like my mom said, "Oh no, they can watch it." And I remember my babysitter's name was Julie, and she's like, "Well, I can't, so we can't watch this. We have to watch like TGI Friday or something like that, like the stupid Boy Meets World or something." I was like, "I don't like any of this. I want to watch horror movies." But I think I saw Demon Knight before I ever saw any of the show because we didn't have HBO growing up, but we did have a family friend who owned a video store. And essentially, like we got all the not previously viewed, but the preview tapes. And actually, I sorted it out later. This was the exact preview tape that we had first.
Oh, that's cool.
The sealed
that
version
is awesome.
that you'd get a video store. It has some like interviews with the cast. It says like for promotional purposes only, not for reading at the bottom and stuff. Got
That's really cool.
Recently. Yeah. And then in the hallway, I have like one of the original like VHS posters framed and stuff. So yeah, it's been a huge part of my life for sure. I have all the seasons, on DVD. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. Of course, I have some of my favorites. I even have Ritual, which nobody has. So
for good reason, but
Jason is still dragging his feet on reviewing that. We said we should review it, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe
we will at some point, but I'm not in any rush whatsoever."
Yeah,
and actually, that'll kind of transition us to announcements because this is the finale of season 5. So we're actually going to take a break from Tales from the Crypt, believe it or not, and we're going to cover the new Guillermo del Toro series, Cabinet of Curiosities, which has gotten rave reviews, and I've actually held off watching it because of this. So for the next, I think, 8 weeks, we will be covering that show. It's on Netflix, so feel free to watch along.
Have you watched any of it yet?
No, I've been saving I've been like intentionally avoiding it.
Same here. I just want some Lovecraftian goo.
No, I've heard I've heard really good reviews. So from like a lot of people that I know and critically and friends.
I watched the first 3 episodes. I didn't like the first 2, but I liked the third one, which is I think called Autopsy.
Ooh,
yeah, the first 2. And the cool thing about it is it's different directions. So if you don't like one, you can just go one.
Yeah.
But
It's an anthology, but I've heard it's like one of the best horror anthologies to come out in a long time.
If I can ask you, even the ones you didn't like, did you still find something to latch onto? Like, because there are often movies I don't like, but I'm like, man, I didn't like this movie, but goddamn, this actress was great, or this script was great.
The reason I didn't like it because of I didn't like it not because of it wasn't like well made. I didn't like it just because it was the first 2 were very predictable.
Okay,
and there wasn't really anything at the end to be like, oh, that was worth watching this. It was more like just a little like, oh, yeah, I could have guessed that from the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
But the other one
makes sense.
The other one, the Autopsy so far, like I said, and I think a lot of people have said too, Autopsy is probably the best one on there. So,
ooh,
yeah.
Okay. And then our
Yeah.
other announcement is that we are doing our Dead Easy script read on December 17th at noon Pacific. And more details will come out hopefully by the time this episode comes out. So be checking our socials and other posts. Mondo, were you going to say something?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I looked like I cut you off.
Okay.
All right. Well, that rolls us into our episode for the evening. We're going to be talking about Till Death Do We Part, which came out on December 8th, 1993. Again, Jody's not here, so you're going to have to sit through my plot synopsis. And this is kind of a convoluted plot, at least timeline wise. There's a lot of flashbacks, so I'm going to kind of simplify things just to give us the idea of it, of what this episode's about.
Real fast, Jason, I'm going to summarize this like in 2 sentences. Uncle Jesse leaves San Francisco to marry a mobster and be a womanizer.
Yes, Uncle Jesse, aka John Stamos. In all the synopsises, he's listed as a gigolo. I didn't get that specifically, like that he was specifically a gigolo. I just thought he was just
He just wanted a sugar mama.
He seemed like a mafia bar owner or something.
Yeah. So basically, the gist of this episode is John Stamos plays a John Stamos type, and he's with his luxurious hair. Because God, such amazing hair. Anyways, his name characters.
I'm sorry, from a bald guy, that's even funnier.
I know that's part of the joke. So he plays Johnny, of course, and he's all cozy with this woman named Ruth, who used to be married to a mobster, and then it's heavily implied that she bumped off her husband so she could take over. So she's kind of the mob boss. She's got 2 henchmen, Frank and Tony, and then there's a bar waitress named Lucy. And the episode starts off with this limo pulling out into the forest, and the 2 henchmen take Lucy and a dead body, and they start burying the body, or they start digging a hole for the body. They're about to cut it up, and they're basically implying that they're about to shoot Lucy as well and throw her in the ditch. We don't know who the body is, but we do see Ruth in the car. And it's basically, we get a couple flashbacks that kind of fill us in, where there is like another mob boss who's trying to sell some money or sell some product through Ruth. And we find out that he's the one that actually is the body, because we think for a while it's John Stamos' character. But that's kind of a fake out. And John Stamos is actually in the car with Ruth. And basically Ruth found John Stamos and Lucy in a precarious position. And thinks that that he's cheating on her. So they basically drive this mob boss, who I guess they happen to kill, and Lucy out to the forest. And there's this really funny moment where one of the guys who's played by one of the henchmen, played by Rick Picardo, the doctor from Star Trek Voyager, where he keeps like saying, "Hey, that's a nice watch. My wife would like that watch. Can you take it off? That's a nice blouse. That would fit my daughter. Can you take it off?" So she's just standing there in their underwear and a bra. And you're like, that is actually pretty funny. I thought that was some good black humor. Where this mobster is like taking everything this woman has to give to his family. He's asking her really politely, like, I don't want to get the blood because I'm about to shoot you.
Yeah.
So the whole tension is like, are they going to shoot her, and how they got to this point. And then Ruth says to Johnny, the John Stamos character, I want you to do it. I feel more comfortable if you did it. So he goes out there. He tells Lucy to turn around. He puts a gun to her head, and then she's like closing her. Oh no, she's looking up in the sky. She thinks she's about to get shot, and then John turns around and shoots both of the mobsters. Ruth gets away in the limo, and then Lucy and Johnny go to the bar that is kind of her hideout, and they like have this big shootout, like John Woo style, like dual wielding and everything. And they basically kill everyone there and kill Ruth, take the diamonds, and they're like, okay, let's go run off. The twist, though, is that was all in Lucy's head right before Johnny shoots her, and then goes back to Ruth, and that's the end. Did I leave anything out?
Well, the one double cross, I think, at the end there too. She then
right,
the flashback like tries to double cross Johnny as well, or Gigolo, whatever his name is. Yeah, trying to cross him. And so that's that. And I think the only reason that's important is because otherwise it just means it's like a mean-spirited episode where this, like, usually in Tales from the Crypt, it's like the person who does something like really horribly wrong is like the one who gets punished. Where this would be like the mob boss who killed all these people, but like really all this girl did was like sleep with John Stamos's character, and look at him. How can you not?
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame her.
But yeah, it was like really dastardly episodes where they just kill like whoever, and you're supposed to feel like okay with it,
Mm. Yeah, where there's like this one's episodes there really isn't like a quote unquote good person per se, because even she, like, her fantasy is to kill everybody and run off with the money and then double cross Johnny. So like she's not necessarily a good person if that's her fantasy.
Yeah.
And I thought another twist, because this whole thing with the other mobster who was like trying to like sell them jewelry, but turns out it wasn't real jewelry, and we don't know for sure, but Ruth doesn't think it's real. So I thought before we knew that this was all in her head, I thought the twist was going to be all the money that jewelry turned out to be fake. So it turns out that they were trying to get away with this big score, and it was all worthless.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be the final twist.
One of the cool things I want to point out too, or funny things, is like when you realize that person being cut up or whatever is not John Stamos's character, all the dialogue makes no sense, because like she's like, oh, what's her name wants you to watch, and like why would she care about this, why? And she's all like wincing and like almost fainting and stuff when this random mobster is being like killed. I mean, I guess that's a human reaction, but
yeah,
at the same time, like she's kind of overselling it. And then they're also like, she wanted you to watch before. It's like, why do I care about this random guy?
Right. And then one there is a lot of like I said, a lot of dark humor in this. I thought was pretty funny, because this whole time we have this one henchman, Tony, is played by Frank Stallone. So imagine like Sylvester Stallone, but like they take like the character creator and just like turn up. Sometimes when you're building a character in a video game, you just want to see what like some of the statistics would look like if you just do them like to 100. It kind of looks like Sylvester Stallone. Someone just messed with the character creator a bunch.
Was he related to Sylvester?
That's his brother.
His brother, yeah. He hacked, like, if I remember correctly, he was a music artist.
Yeah, he's a musician
and had a top 10 hit for like the movie Staying Alive, I think.
Yeah, and he contributed that, and like he's in like the first three Rocky movies as like street singer or something like that.
Oh, I love
like guy on the street who happens to be scatting or something. So you know what they do in Philadelphia, the streets when it's cold. He was actually pretty funny, because this whole time he's listening to the radio, listening to baseball games, and he's like got this axe, he's like chopping up a body, and he keeps like mimicking the bat swinging motions with the axe. It was actually a pretty funny performance. Both him and Robert Picardo were pretty funny in this, as like little side characters. So Mondo, what did you think of this episode?
It was okay. It was okay. The whole it was a bit convoluted, and kind of like Ed brought up. I've said this before, but I don't love the Tales episodes where I don't have a clear-cut protagonist that I'm rooting for, and at the end, it's like the pieces of shit, that the terrible human beings are the victors. I mean, I think at the end, you're supposed to think that John Stamos' character is still miserable because of who he's married to, but he's still a terrible human being that at the end kind of got his way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth, well, she was just ruthless, to be honest. She wasn't ruthful.
Yeah, they also infer, dude. They also infer that like he's done this multiple times, John Stamos.
Right. This guy's like just living his best life, just fucking around on this mob boss and killing innocent women. And that's what I think. So halfway through the episode, when they're having these like John Wick style firefights,
mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved it, because it was so cheesy and over the top, and they're each brandishing dual firearms. I'm like, this is ridiculous, but I kind of like it. And then at the end, when they break out of that dream sequence, I was like, oh, this is all in their heads. And then he just kills her, and I was like, well, that's not really the ending I was hoping for. And
I kind of like the trolling, though. I kind of appreciated that.
Yeah, I can appreciate it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean it's great. So I'm gonna put this on not my favorite Tales from the Crypt episode, but it wasn't bad. Well directed, well acted. I thought Kate Vernon was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
and she's playing a bunch of fun stuff. And she actually does one of my favorite things ever, which you don't see nowadays, where she played, and I think she was in CSI but she's played multiple characters in the same TV show, but played same TV show, but different characters, which I always love because it's the same person, which makes me happy. But yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, I think where we ended a couple of, like, season 4, we ended with Yellow, which is one of the best Tales episodes of all time. And this season we're kind of ending, I think, at least personally, on a more sour note.
So Ed, what would you what was your opinions of this episode?
Well, immediately when I saw the ending, I was like, oh, this is a retelling of an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, which is like a story in 1890 where this guy's about to be hanged off the side of a bridge, and he imagines the rope snapping, and he gets off and like goes and burns the bridge in the night so nobody else can get hung by it and stuff. And then it ends with literally him being hung and dying. Those are his last visions before he dies. So it's literally that to a T, just modern retelling. That was something I think I maybe heard first in like high school or middle school or something like that, in like social studies class. So I was like, oh wow. And it also kind of reminded me of Yellow a little bit. I mean, I know Yellow, the plot is not exactly the same because it's not a dream, but it is like, a lie, a lie that's basically, propelling this guy to like act like he's, all stoic.
Yeah, I see the parallel at the end with the firing squad.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little more sympathetic to this episode, given that it's only 25 minutes and not like if this was the ending to a 2-hour movie that I just sat through, I think I'd be a little pissed. But given that it's a Tales from the Crypt episode, it's short, it's a little experimental, I'm more okay with it. And like that's the kind of the whole dream thing or fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You can do it once, but like again, if you can Smile, there's like multiple times where there's like this cheap fake out kind of thing, and they do kind of go back to that well like multiple times, and then I get kind of mad about it.
You talk about the movie Smile?
Yeah, I don't want to give away major spoilers.
I literally just posted something. You might like it. It's a friend of mine made it, and it's actually showing a scene. First, the scene from Smile, actually like on top of each other, like Smile scene playing in real time, and then Hereditary under it playing in real time, and the same thing again with the scene from The Ring, and it's lifted shot for shot, exactly lifted from those two movies.
Oh wow!
Different years.
I don't want to go on a tangent, but I feel like we're in the place where we can like do. I feel like Smile is like a parody, almost, of like Trauma Monster the movie. Like that seems like the trend over the last 10 years. It's like there used to be, not another teen movie, not another epic movie, whatever it was, all those scary movies. Now I feel like it's trying to be like not another Trauma Monster movie. And back to this episode, I think, and again, I was actually we were talking on Twitter with Gregory Wyden, who did the last episode, Halfway Horrible, and he was saying that they thought this was they were basically being told this is the end of the Tales from the Crypt series. They didn't think there would be another season. So a lot of actors were like, okay, this is our last chance to jump on the ship and do it. So that's why I think the last couple episodes have had some amazing casts, because they weren't sure if there was going to be another season or not. Because I think the cast is what really makes this episode, because it's just so loaded. Again, just going through it, Lucy's played by Kate Vernon. She did a soap opera called Falcon Crest. She was in Pretty in Pink. She was in Malcolm X. She was a longtime character on Battlestar Galactica. She recently did The Morning Show. John Stamos. I mean,
she was also in a women in prison film called Chained Heat.
Yes, I saw that too.
Big fan.
Yeah, I mean, John Stamos, actually, one of the most recent things he did was that show Scream Queens. I didn't know he was in that.
Oh, me either.
And then we got Robert Picardo. Again, he was in The Howling, which I always forget. He was in Inner Space. He was in Gremlins 2. He was the coach in Wonder Years. And then Frank Stallone. He was in Hudson Hawk and Tombstone, along with some of the Rocky movies.
Wasn't he in a porno too at some point?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't his whole thing, was it either him or his brother who were in like some like softcore porn or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, there's
I
something out
don't.
there.
I don't want to see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's either Frank or Rocky himself, but yeah, there's something out there.
Stamos,
Sure.
yes. Stallone, no. Sorry. Ruth is played by Eileen Brenner. She was in The Sting, which is one of my favorite movies, and Private Benjamin. She was in Clue, and then one of her last roles was actually in Jeepers Creepers.
Real fast, but to backtrack a little bit, Sylvester Stallone was in a movie called The Party at Kitty and Studs, and I implore you guys to go online and look at the movie poster because the tagline says Sylvester Stallone, star of Rocky, goes X-rated.
Oh, so there we go.
And then underneath it says the Italian Stallion.
Oh God! At least they go like Rocky Hard or something.
That'd been great, Jason. Where were you when this film was made?
I don't know. I missed my calling. And this was directed by Peter, I think it's Iliff. He was a writer on movies such as Point Break, Patriot Games, and Varsity Blues.
Okay.
So yeah, I think
that's a movie where Matt Dillon gets really mad at his dad, right?
Which one?
Varsity Blues. That's a football one, right?
That's not Matt Dillon. No, that's James Van Der Beek.
Oh, okay, James Van Der Beek. All right.
Yeah, that's like
Same
a comfort movie for me.
I don't want your life.
Yes, that line.
Yes.
That's the line I remember. That
Yes.
and what I think when they come out 2001.
No, that was like 98.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The only thing I remember is that line, and any teenager who watched at that time remembers the whipped cream scene. Like, who doesn't?
Yes.
Weirdly enough,
I don't like to talk.
internship. I did an internship for that company.
Oh, really?
Varsity Pictures in 2007 and 2008. And weirdly enough, the guy who actually was the producer of that film is now head of content and head of production at Paramount.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I like to imagine you walked into the office and they just had like a stand up with the whipped cream on it. Just
Supposedly
by that
it
time,
was
focusing on that kid stuff for the most part, but yeah, they were working on like they did All That as well. If anybody knows what that is.
the old Nickelodeon show.
yeah.
Of course.
And I was on a Sunny with a Chance, which was the first Demi Lovato show, and it was very apparent even then that all these kids were going to have a lot of problems because they were like, and we had to go as an intern. I had to go search for them to give them like scripts and stuff, and a lot of times they'd be like drunk or high or whatever, or like you literally had to go find them because they just leave set, and you had to go. They're like, oh, here's a list of places they might be. Go find them and bring them back to set, or go find them and give them the script. So.
I couldn't even imagine the lifestyle those kids had to go through at that age, like the pressure and everything else and the access. Like, I can't say I wouldn't have done the same. So I have no judgment towards those people. It's just a shitty position to be in. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of which, I was just reading the IMDb trivia for Varsity Blues, and the kid who plays James Van Der Beek's little brother, who's like just up as Malcolm X at one point, he's like, and then like he's joining a cult, like little side bits. He's been missing for like 7 years.
Holy shit! Hopefully he's missing for the right reasons. He like just
he ran away.
His lifestyle.
Yeah,
because I can respect that. I can respect that. I get it.
That's some craziness.
Demi Lovato, also a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah.
She looks really short. I have no clue, but it always seems like she'd be really
Jason,
short.
you're like 6'9". Like everybody's short to you, dude.
He's also really short.
Yeah.
Like 5'2" or 5'3". And
oh wow.
I think the time where she just like dated UFC fighters.
Oh wow. Well,
yeah.
To put in perspective, so like I have such short legs that my wife is 5'4" and her legs are longer than mine. Some bullshit.
Same. Italian. So. Silly. That's kind of how it works.
See, I have German. I'm German and Mexican, but like my height, I'm like 5'11", but my height was mainly dictated by my Mexican side, not my German side. Because my grandfather was like 6'3".
Yeah, I'm 5'10", but that's kind of a thing, I guess, in Hollywood. Like a lot of actors, the actors like the Henry Cavills and all them, they're all torso and don't have they have really short legs. They're all torso.
That's how I am. So I'm not triangle choking anybody. I know no one gets that reference, but like I can't triangle choke somebody. It's very sad.
All right, let's move to the comic comparison. I speed read this one, so we'll see how this goes. But apparently, we're talking. Let's see, Haunt of
I love that when
Fear.
Jody's gone, like everything just goes to shit.
I
We're like,
know it's
what are
bad.
we going to use for all the exposition?
Let's see, Haunt of Fear looks like August. I don't have a year, but 50 something. Mondo, you can look it up real fast.
No, I can't. Dude,
So basically,
if I use the internet, my connection might just crash completely. I have no idea what's going to happen.
okay, well, we'll look it up in a minute. So basically, this is about two, let's see, two thieves who are trying to open a safe, and they've timed it so they know when the security guard goes on his break and when he comes back. So they open the safe, but the security guard comes back early. So they have to make a run for it, but the security guard tips off the police. One of them gets shot. It makes it back to but he makes it back to the safe house, and he finds his accomplice there, and he's just ignoring him. And like the other guy's like, "I need to get to the hospital." The other guy's like, "I'm gonna take off with all the money." Ha ha ha. And then basically the twist is that they're both dead. They just don't know it. So they're just two kind of ghosts, kind of going through the motions until they find their bodies. And that's kind of the twist. It's kind of a nothing burger. The other twist is that the cops look at their watch. It turns out their watch was 4 minutes slow, and that's why the guard came back early. But it's not a remarkable comic.
I look for the artwork. The artwork, though, as always, like I just love the artwork from his early comics. It's just fun, even if you don't enjoy the writing. The artwork's
yeah. Okay, yeah. I definitely don't take away from the artwork, but
no, I respect your retelling of the story, but
all right. Do we have any other thoughts on this episode? Or any closing thoughts? I thought this was actually a pretty good episode. At least it was trying something interesting, and I liked that shootout scene. I was like, this is some good late 80s, early 90s, shootout action.
I always appreciate when people are shooting with two guns at the same time, because I remember watching a Mythbusters that it's almost impossible to do that and hit a target. And so it's always so much fun when I see that, because it's just like
it just looks
it's almost
so cool.
like, well, that's what I mean. I mean, they know they're going for over the top and they're just going for it and don't care. So that was fun. Like, I mean, it is for me again, it's just the fact that like I need someone to root for. And then when you don't give me that, it's tough.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were banking more on us, like, feeling sympathetic for John Stamos even after all of this, just because of his looks. I think they were really that's like they're like, oh, he's this horrible person, but he is still John Stamos. So I think they were banking on that a little bit too much. I did like the episode. I like that it wasn't so much the horror episode you typically see, and more of like the thriller-esque episodes, like kind of like Yellow, like we talked about before. And I like that kind of like those different episodes that are kind of like the outliers in the series. So I would say like probably like 6 or 7 stars out of 10.
We'll get to that. So Mondo, is this better than the Brad Pitt episode, the King of the Road?
No, it's not. I don't know. Like, you know what? Like, part of it also has to do with a lot of things. This is just real life. Is when did you watch this episode? Like, when I watched that King of the Road episode, I was not in a good place. So I'll say this is better than that episode. Although that did have Brad Pitt, which amplified it. That did have some fun set pieces. They're about on par. I don't even remember what I gave that one, but I probably rated it too low because I wasn't really in a good place when I watched that movie.
All right,
that episode.
Who do you have the bigger man crush on, Brad Pitt or John Stamos?
Well, I mean, fucking Jesse and the Rippers, right?
Lord have mercy.
Did you ever hear the story that Bob Saget told about when he went to the bathroom one time with John Stamos at a convention?
Probably, but you can tell it.
It's watch it on YouTube. He talks about how he went in the bathroom. He goes, and he and John Stamos are both in there, they're peeing, and they see a kid, like, or a guy just looking back and forth, like, what the fuck's happening? So he started talking to Jesse. He started talking to John Stamos like he was in character. And he was like, man, Jesse, like, I don't know about DJ. She's not doing well. And started talking about all things. He goes, and the kid who's obviously high, is like looking back and forth, like, what the fuck? Full House is real life. And of course, John Stamos, being John Stamos, played along. So
I mean,
it's a
speaking of real life, DJ is not okay anymore.
yeah.
She's gone off the deep end.
Fucked up that childhood crush. Like, goddamn. I just have to stick with April O'Neil and Jennifer Tilly, and I'm cool with it.
There you go.
April O'Neil can't fuck up at this point, right? Like, unless they make a Ninja Turtles movie and she's somehow somewhere in an undisclosed location on January the 6th. Other than that, they really can't fuck up with her. So
depends on how you feel about Megan Fox, but
you know, man, like, was never my thing. But I also did never watch Jennifer's Body, so I've heard that you have to watch that movie to really respect it.
I kind of like those new live action turtle movies. They were terrible.
Live action what movies? Terminator,
turtle movies.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna watch.
They weren't too bad.
All I'll state is that in the original Ninja Turtles live action movie, the theme song that plays when the Foot Clan appears on screen is fucking top notch. Like, I want that theme to play every time I walk into a room, just doo like, just ominous. Like, I can be in there with flowers, but I want ominous when I walk into a room.
Yeah. All right, let's do our episode rating. We do 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. You can do half points. Mondo, what do you give this episode?
2.5. And again, I'm not going to call it actually a bad episode. I think it wasn't aligned with my tastes, but like you guys mentioned, acting's fantastic. Ed, how you brought how it was like a different kind of story and how they ended the season with like a different kind of arc, with a thriller arc. Yeah, I again, like, as much as I really didn't enjoy it for my tastes, I still don't think it was a bad episode at all. So I think 2.5 is pretty solid.
All right, Ed.
I say I give it a 3, 3 out of 5, just because it was good enough to like hold my interest, and like you said, the actors kind of kept you in there. If John Stamos wasn't in there, I don't know if it would be as like compelling as an episode, as weird as that sounds. But what's giving it a 3 instead of like a 2 out of 5 is definitely like the John Stamos and the dual wielding guns.
Well, I think John Stamos also has like a super innocent face.
Mm-hmm.
To where it's almost weird, like when you see him in this villain role, because his face definitely does not scream villain.
Yeah, so you're like, that face cannot do anything wrong. That face, that hair can do no wrong. I'll give this a 3.5. It was entertaining from beginning to end. I was into it. Might not have been the best, but I was never bored. And again, I think most of that has to do with the characters and just the performances and some of the humor that was kind of laced throughout the story. I felt a lot of like mashing up of genres from like the early 90s, like the John Woo, maybe a little Tarantino influence. And that's fine. That was reflective of what was going on then. I can't remember what year Reservoir Dogs came out, but it definitely had a little bit of that feel too.
I just went online to see if John Stamos had a cameo, and he didn't, because I was totally going to buy you a cameo saying this face can do no wrong.
I would die a happy man if you did that. Okay, we'll move on to Al's anecdotes. Take it away. And we're back. All right, Mondo, stepping up to the plate with the song of the day.
Oh, I got this week. So I have, one's not going to count, but did you know that John Stamos actually played steel drum in the video for Kokomo by the Beach Boys?
I saw that on IMDb. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw that, and that was funny. But I'm going with a different direction, because this episode is about love. So we'll go with the band Strapping Young Lad. Devin Townsend being the front man of that band and the creative force behind that band. And the song is Love off the album Alien. And the tie-in is it's a song about it's love with a question mark. And if you guys want a really cool music video to watch, it's a great music video, because the music video is them basically playing in the Evil Dead cabin and being infected by the Deadites.
Oh, cool.
The other interesting piece of that is, and it kind of ties into, but Machine Head wrote a song around the same time. So when Devin Townsend wrote the song, he completely admitted that he ripped off the band Yes. And I can't remember the name of the song he ripped off. But Machine Head then wrote a song that was almost note for note this song. And people were saying, oh, you ripped off Strapping Young Lad. He's like, well, we didn't, because we recorded it around the same time. And I don't like Machine Head. There's a whole other story. But It just turned out they both ripped off the same Yes song because they thought that the song was good. But the music video was directed by Joe Lynch. Joe Lynch directed a bunch of stuff. Chillerama. He did Wrong Turn 2. He did Knights of Badassdom. Did recently Mayhem. So a bunch of fun stuff, and he's appeared in a bunch of stuff. So that's a tie into horror, but it's Strapping Young Lad is a great band, and Devin Townsend was known for a long time for rocking the best skullet of all time, which no one should ever do that. Like he's on the very short. He's in the list of one person that should ever have a skullet. It was, and I bet if you asked him about it today, he'd be like, "Yeah, I should not have done that." So yeah, Strapping Young Lad, the song Love off the album Alien. Great song.
Nice. All right. And since Joey's not here, I'm going to do some trivia because we have a couple pieces for this episode. The first one is that Kate Vernon, who plays Lucy, her father is actually John Vernon from Animal House and many other things.
Okay.
And he actually was in a episode last season called Seance. So we got some nice synergy there. Additionally, the wraparound with the Crypt Keeper in this is all baseball themed. And the tie-in there is because one of the characters is listening to baseball games while he's cutting up bodies. So we have the Crypt Keeper in the baseball uniform, and he's calling out a play, and there's a little thing that shows up on the screen that shows the positions and the players. And two of them are, of course, Gaines and Feldstein.
Oh, cool.
Gaines, the founder of EC Comics, and Feldstein, one of the main writers and artists from the original comics. And then on the sports cast that one of the characters listening to, they reference a pitcher named Scott Nimfro, or it's the pitcher's name. Yeah, I don't know if they say Scott, but they definitely say Nimfro. I caught that. And he wrote and produced a bunch of episodes of Tales from the Crypt. So there's a lot of nice little Easter eggs written throughout this episode. So that was nice. All right.
Can I add a fun piece of wrestling trivia?
Oh, please.
Okay, so Knox News has a story on Glenn Jacobs. Fuck you, Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane, the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, who is settling a lawsuit that alleged he asked county employees to work at his home and pressured a department head to lie to state investigators and then cursed at them when they refused. So Kane just continuing to be a piece of shit.
Thank you for the Kane update.
Hey, man, the grappling match stands. If he ever wants to grapple for a charity, so I can choke that motherfucker unconscious.
I like to see how that goes.
I feel like he's not going to take that. Dude, he's a big dude, but I feel like I can still choke him unconscious. It's fun.
All right. And now we're moving on to our dad advice, Ask a Dad. And Ed, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you have a relatively newborn in your household?
Yeah. She's turning 1 on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So my Ask a Dad is, are you okay?
I'm okay. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Do you have any newborn to 1-year-old advice you'd like to give our listeners?
I do. So we hear a lot of things about sleeping and stuff and how you can't sleep and no, you're not ever going to sleep. My wife and I did something very, very smart in the first 3 months that the baby was born. And mind you, you can only do this if your job allows you to do this. Mm-hmm. But what it was I would go to bed at 8 o'clock at night and then get up around 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning. And then my wife would go to sleep from 6 in the morning until 1. And then we would both get full night's sleep and just be watching the baby and doing the whole, because you have to get up every 2 hours. So until she wasn't getting up every 2 hours, that's what we did. And we never lost sleep or anything. So
that's awesome.
That's really smart. Yeah, unfortunately I had twins, so there wasn't much time where both kids were asleep. So that wouldn't have really worked. But I was able to take 5 weeks of parenting time after, because I banked a lot of hours and various things. So it just came to a point where I said, you know what? Anytime the babies are sleeping, I'm just gonna go to sleep. I was so tired. I was just like, if we're sleeping, I'm gonna sleep. I don't care what time of day it is. I need to sleep. So I'm just gonna sleep whenever the babies go to sleep. And actually, a friend of mine gave me a Google Drive with all the Tales from the Crypt. So actually, the last time I did a Tales from the Crypt watch through was during that like 5 weeks of PTO I took, of parenting time. Because I didn't have anything. I need something to do my other time that wasn't child related.
Yeah.
And seriously, I was 19 and done when we had our daughter, so I just worked through the whole thing. Back then, you couldn't take FMLA if you were a dad; like you had to just work it. And during the holidays, but I would not recommend that. I recommend taking time off if you can and spend that with your child and bond. Because I truly do miss those moments, and I'll never have them back. But my daughter turns 20 on Friday, so that's
Oh
pretty cool.
man,
20 years old. Yeah, she's got her own place. Like has 2 jobs. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
You don't look
Yeah.
old to have a 20-year-old.
I'm 39. I was a young dad. I appreciate that. I'll always take that compliment and put that away if I need to pick me up.
So Ed, you said your daughter's birthday's on Christmas.
On Christmas Day, yep.
Wow, so that's gonna be
Have you-
interesting because I'm my birthday's early in January. So like as a kid, I just thought I just get presents all the time because the holidays just run right into my birthday. Just be getting stuff constantly for like weeks on end. So it's a real bummer when the presents stop.
So how are you gonna handle it? Are you gonna give double the presents on Christmas, or are you gonna break it up maybe like a week
So we've
before, a
already
week after?
already told relatives like, hey, you guys can't be cheap. It's 2 presents, not one. And then also weirdly enough, and this wasn't even done on purpose, but like we had a lot of friends who had kids around the same time, the first kid the same time we did.
Mhm.
And like one of them is I think a month older than my daughter, and the other one is like maybe 2 months older than my daughter, and they just happen to be Jewish, so they don't celebrate Christmas anyway, so they can come to her birthday.
Nice. That's actually
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
It's interesting how you guys all had babies around December, and it's kind of like never mind. That's kind of when lockdown started, but that was back in 2020.
Yeah. We definitely weren't thinking of having kids until going through all the lockdown and everything like that, and like that was not in the cards. Like I mean, having my first kid at 35 was not something that was like planned. So it all changed. Just kind of everything kind of went into perspective. You got so bored with just not having to do anything that you kind of perspective.
Someone hand me a baby quick, I'm bored.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's like, again, I have my daughter really young, and I'm kind of thankful for that, because even now at like 39, we relate on certain things I don't think I'd relate to if I was a little bit older, or vice versa.
Mhm.
But also, like, if I had a baby now, I'd be so much more mature. I think I'd be such a better dad in those early years than I was back then. So I think it's always a coin flip, and there's no wrong time to have a baby. It's just you're gonna have it when you have it, and you're gonna do your best, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. She's already been in four of my movies, so yeah.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. Well,
yeah.
It's so cool because I hope like when she's older, she can look back on that and be like, holy shit, I was in a movie when I was a baby. And it's a really cool thing. We did get one question on our Instagram if we want to answer this.
Please.
From our friend Palmer Lynch 719, longtime friend of the show. Is there a story structure that you don't tire of?
I don't tire of?
You don't tire of, like something you could like maybe a trope, or I mean I'll go first. I'll say that I just love I love a good slasher. Like I don't need anyone to reinvent the slasher. You give me a menacing evil character killing kids, and don't call it Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I'm a pretty big fan.
Like, and I think of it the same way. Wait, so you read the question again? I think I misheard it the first time.
All right. Is there a story structure that you do not tire of?
Okay, so yeah, and the way I think of it is like I listen to all kinds of music, but because I think at some point there's gonna be someone who does something in the genre that I'm gonna like, or there's like enough talented people doing all kinds of music or all kinds of movies that there's something I can find that I like in each type of genre.
Sure.
As far as story structure though, there's one thing trope that always really annoys me is when they start off in the middle.
Hold on a second. This is not what annoys you. It's what you will never get tired of.
I know. And that's it. I'm open to most, but the one thing that kind of annoys me that at least like I guess get bored of is like we're gonna start off with our characters in the precarious situation, and then we're gonna have them tell you the story of how they got there. Kind of like Maverick, Kind of like in this episode in a little bit, where they kind of start in the middle and then they kind of keep flashing back to, I don't know, because you just know that they're going to get to that one scenario.
You still didn't answer the question though. What do you not tire of?
Everything else is fine.
Everything else is okay, like except for
Yeah,
that one.
everything else is okay.
Damn, that's just pretty open.
I'm saying if it's done well. Ed, you're the filmmaker here. You tell us.
My favorite kind of film is one that I don't think they make many of, but I never get tired of a movie like From Dusk Till Dawn, like a movie that starts off in one genre and then kind of just starkly changes, like at the drop of a dime.
Ooh, look at my shirt.
Another genre.
Oh, nice.
Oh, hell yeah. Those kind of movies. Another one would be kind of Barbarian. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I mean, on a more general sense, I mean, I still find myself with my wife and even on my own sometimes watching like rom-coms, which are the exact same thing over and over and over. It's like guy wants girl, girl doesn't want guy, guy gets girl, guy loses girl, guy gets girl again. Or the Hallmark one that makes fun of where it's like woman with amazing job goes back to her hometown and drops her job and drops everything to live in her hometown with homeless childhood boyfriend or something like that. Like no job and makes her lose everything and live with him.
The widowed ex-boyfriend with a cute little kid.
A friend of ours is a podcast dedicated to those kind of movies called Small Town Failing.
Oh, nice.
And if you want a funny take on those movies, it's a great podcast to listen to. But yeah, I get that.
Hell yeah.
You know, I'll also say like the kind of ensemble comedy cast, like especially from the 80s, like Great Outdoors, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, all those just like off the wall comedies just do it for me. Like I don't need the plot to make sense. I just want to see Steve Martin and John Candy on screen.
Oh, that's one of my all-time favorite movies is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They actually just came out with a release with like an extra hour of footage.
Oh, I have it at my house right now.
I want to get it.
I haven't watched the extras yet because I've heard the extras. When you watch them, you'll understand why they cut them out, because if they left them in, Del Griffith would have been unsufferable.
Yeah, no, it's like a perfect movie. So I'm fine with it, but I'm just curious.
You know, John Candy was like 36 when he did that movie or something like that.
That's crazy.
Damn.
But again, actually, I was thinking about this as you're talking about it. The kind of movie, again, I don't like to stick to a genre. It's just any movie that I don't know what's going to happen next, where like I'm kind of going on a journey and I'm like just kind of going with it. So like Everything Ever All at Once. That was such a mind-blowing movie because it just there's no way to understand or predict what's going to happen. And it's just, oh God, that movie still blows my mind. And Barbarian along the same lines.
Yeah. When people, I've heard people trashing Barbarian. I think they're doing it just to be different. But like, holy shit, even if you didn't like the movie, I think you have to respect what it did and how it like. And I'm not going to give away anything else in that, but I think you have to respect how it went and what it did, and it took some balls to kind of go the directions it went into, and when it did those.
Oh yeah, no, it's a brilliant movie.
Those movements.
I'm like trying to put together my top 10 list for the year, and every day I come up with a different order. This is gonna be an impossible task.
I'm a big believer that I see so many people just like bumping Fresh down their lists. And I'm like, if that movie would have come out in like October, I think people be saying that's the number one of the year.
No, I'm trying to keep that as high as
possible. What are the ones
possible.
on your guys' list? If you not in any order, not in any order, but what movies are on your list right now?
I got it on my phone.
I'd have to say Barbarian for sure. Definitely Fresh. I love Fresh. Prey, the new Predator film. X for sure. It's kind of weird because I forget that somebody's came out this year because it's so long.
All right. So here's my top.
I'm gonna say Terrifier 2 for sure. I love Terrifier 2, even though I think if they had to cut 30 minutes out of it, it'd be a masterpiece. But
yeah. Let's see. My top 10 is, and this is not particularly in order, but something near in order: Barbarian, Pearl, Nope, Fresh, Mad God, X, Deathstream, Prey, and I don't know how many that is, but Bodies. Hellraiser. I haven't seen the menu, so I know that might make it.
Yeah,
it's like I can't figure out where to put Pearl and X like in relation to each other. It's like,
I enjoyed Pearl. I loved X.
I liked the first half of X. a lot, and I would rather almost just see the rest of that movie before it took the turn, just to
Dude.
play out, because I just love all those characters, and then they start picking them off.
I'm still a big believer that the third act of that film is such a love letter to Lucio Fulci.
Yeah,
And you know how I feel about Fulci. So
Yeah.
like that last half of the last act with the way it was shot
The
and
lighting,
with the
yeah.
and with the eye kill, I'm like, oh shit, they're going for Lucio Fulci, and I love the last act of that movie too. And it's also one of those movies where I didn't see a lot in the theater this year, and it's one that I did see in the theater, which made me very happy.
I think if I saw that in the theater, my opinion would have been higher, but I didn't get a chance to. Do you have a list so far?
Yeah, I had a lot of the ones you said. I love Deadstream. That's near the top of my list.
Deadstream was a movie that when I first started watching it, I was like, I fucking hate this guy. I fucking hate this movie. And then 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I'm in. I love this movie.
One that neither of you mentioned, Sadness. I really love the Sadness.
Oh, the Sadness was some of the best gore pieces of the year. Like, I know everyone's raving over Terrifier 2 and their practical effects, which don't get me wrong, I absolutely love. But holy shit, did the Sadness go in directions I did not expect?
Yeah, I keep forgetting that's this year, so I need to watch it before the end of the year.
And then there was two Micah Monroe films. One was The Watcher. Enjoyed. And then the other one was Significant Other, the Paramount Plus original that came out a few weeks. Alien film. Really cool, really good. And then I did have X on the list. I did have Fresh on the list near the top. Trying to think. If I go out of this, I have a list on my phone, but if I get out of this,
we lost you.
You lost me, but you can still hear me.
No, okay, we just can't see you.
We can hear it's good. Your name is just iPhone for the time being. It's fine.
Okay.
Did you see Mad God?
I didn't see Mad God yet. It's on my list still, though.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't make it through Mad God, and I don't mean that as a knock on the movie. I just put it on at the wrong time.
Yeah, you have to be in the headspace for that.
Yeah, and have not gotten back to it. So it's like it's not a knock on. It's more a knock on me, just fucking being a piece of shit than it's about the movie because I really do want to watch that.
It's just one of those movies I just think about a lot. It just pops in my head.
Yeah. And the other ones I have on my list that you guys didn't have on your list, I don't think I had Malignant.
So that was last year.
That was last year.
Is it last year?
Yeah.
But I'm with you in that I love Malignant. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, no, it would be on my list this year if it was, but
weird. I thought it was this year, or I must have got that wrong. And then I do have. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, did you guys see who invited them or no?
I've not seen that. No.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think Shudder this year specifically has been absolutely like killing it.
Yeah.
It's a Shudder original of the home invasion type movie.
Oh, on my list, have not watched it yet, so I have it saved.
Yeah, I think then what we're seeing too, a genre that I find myself loving, and I don't know why exactly, maybe because it's like relatable, is like this new genre of talking about like Barbarian and talking about James Franco's Brothers movie that came out the previous year, The Rental and stuff. This Airbnb gone bad type movie.
It's a really random genre, but yeah, it works.
Oh, as a guy that travels for work, like I completely relate to that. Like I've stayed in some places, I'm like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Another great one that didn't get a wide release, just for people out there, is it's the new Benson and Moorhead movie, Something in the Dirt. They did The Battery, I think.
Oh wow.
But really, it's when you watch it, you know it's a pandemic film. I saw it during Chattanooga Film Festival, but my only complaint with this movie is because I'm an old man, it's a little bit too long, at almost 2 hours. But a really great found footage movie I think everybody should check out.
Oh yeah, found footage is a huge favorite of mine. I made a found footage film back in 2012, but like I'm friends with one of the guys who obviously I'm friends with Eduardo Sanchez, but but I'm also friends with this guy Dean Aliotto, who weirdly enough he just got the shit end of the stick because he came out with an amazing found footage film right before Blair Witch. And
what was it called?
It originally was called Incident at Lake County, and then it got changed now to Alien. They changed the name, but it used to be called Incident at Lake County. All the effects were made by the people who went on to do Men in Black.
Wow.
Essentially, it's about a family who's having a birthday party, and they're filming it on their camcorder. And farmhouse.
Alien Abduction. I've seen. They put this on
Yeah.
Shudder. They put that on Shudder.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I think I saw that a long time ago.
Yeah, so I've been like, I just love found footage and all these like weird, obscure found footage films, like Be My Cat, which is about this guy who has such an obsession, and this guy in Romania who has such an obsession with Anne Hathaway. He's making a movie and he wants Anne Hathaway to star in it. So he's like casting these women who look like Anne Hathaway and then murdering them. Like weird ones like that. There's one called Home, and it's like about this couple. One of them is like a priest and the other one is like a scientist, and they've made this kind of bet as to like what's going on with their kids, because their kids are showing some kind of like weird behavioral issue, and they're documenting it, and they find out that their kids have been possessed by like demons essentially. Yeah, and then my all-time
real fast, Dean Aloto did it's called the McPherson tapes.
Now, yeah.
Oh, it's called Now? Yeah, fantastic.
It's called Incident at Lake County is the first title.
Gotcha.
What happened was the original negatives were burned in a fire.
Oh.
And he didn't know the movie existed anymore until later on down the line. Footage from his movie showed up on Unsolved Mysteries.
Wow, that's so crazy.
It had shit, and he's like, "This is from my movie," and they ended up like contacting getting the contact info from Unsolved Mysteries, and then contacting the guy. And the guy had just happened to work at something. He had no idea that this place had burned down. He was like some like editor, like a trailer editor that had like a hard drive or had something or some negatives at some point, and they were able to then release the movie with this guy's footage that he had like years.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's insane.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up another episode. That wraps up season 5. So again, we're going to start to do Cabinet of Curiosities starting next week with the episode 1 titled Lot 36. Edward, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people follow you and find your content?
So I am on Instagram under an anti-hero production with underscores between each word. You can find me if you just search on like Amazon Prime or Plex. Just type Edward Payson and all my movies will come up. Horror, documentaries, whatever you like. Yeah, and whatever you watch, please feel free to tell me all about it, because I love talking to people who actually take the time to watch my stuff. So.
And what's the new documentary called again for the Texas Chainsaw?
It's called In Search of All American Massacre, the Lost Texas Chainsaw Film. It'll first be on Amazon probably next week, as well as Plex next week. And anybody in the Los Angeles area, I don't know when this episode is releasing.
This will come out on Sunday.
On Sunday, so
they'll be passed
the day before, yeah.
But if you are you on Twitter or anything, or Mastodon or any of the other ones?
Just Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you send me the info, I can tweet it. So
cool. Yeah. I'll send you the info. Yeah, it's part of the Culver City Film Fest. We're 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, and yeah, the whole cast is going to be there. So.
Oh, cool.
I mean, Jason, are you free on 9:30 p.m. on Saturday?
On Saturday or Friday? What's happening on Saturday?
Isn't that what you just said?
Oh, I thought you said it was Friday.
No, Saturday.
Oh, I'm actually going to Season Screamings, a holiday-themed horror festival this Saturday.
Damn it, Jason.
Go till 9:30?
Maybe, but if you're inviting me, maybe I'll go. We'll see.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know you guys are both in Los Angeles. I don't know.
No, I am.
He is. I live in Las Vegas. I'm just in San Diego for work this week.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah, man. If you guys are able to go, like I said, the whole cast is gonna be there. Felissa Rose is in the movie.
Oh, really? I love Felissa Rose.
She's a good friends with Bill, so she told us all about like Bill Moseley and stuff, and also just a huge horror fan, and she's been in a lot of my movies in the past too. So
I'm a huge Sleepaway Camp fan.
We
Oh,
met her.
yeah.
We met her at Days of the Dead here in Las Vegas, and just like the nicest person too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Just super excited to meet fans and just a cool person.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, Greg, who is in the original movie, All American Massacre, he's in the documentary. He's going to be there as well. He's coming back down
Cool.
from Sacramento, where he lives now. Yeah.
If I'm not too worn out from season screaming, so maybe I'll come by. No, I can't promise anything because conventions take a lot out of me.
Why does Las Vegas suck? We don't get cool shit like this.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate everyone for listening. We'd really appreciate it if you would give us a rating review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify. Check out our Patreon for bonus content. Mondo, we gotta start working on some of that.
Hey, dude, like I'm a busy man. I'm sorry.
I know. And also check out YouTube for videos of these podcasts. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Goodbye.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.